Hello and welcome to episode 124 of the Backlot 605 podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Casey Calderman. Join with me, as always, is my co-host, Brian Mensing.
How's it going?
It's going great, Brian. We have an action-packed episode coming up here in this week's Versus Month.
It's the most action-packed we've had all season.
I am so stoked for this. I could use some Michael Buffer before this episode. It has that big fight feel to it. We are talking about the 1979 family drama, Kramer versus Kramer. Kramer! I think our guest this week is on the side of Kramer, and our guest this week is Mr. Andy Heller, a fat dude digs flicks. Andy, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. I feel honored to get to do this episode because, man, when I think of fights that are more my tempo, nothing like a battle of wits and bad names and mistruths and Kramer versus Kramer, the ultimate versus movie.
Right. A child's life is on the line.
It's hanging in the balance.
I don't know why I went full Vince McMahon for that. It just felt right for this.
Vince McMahon with the red eyes.
Yeah. WWE has actually done the child custody on the line. So I guess this is not far-fetched for a professional wrestling versus fight that we are pitching all these as. But Kramer versus Kramer is our main topic here for this week, but we're going to jump into the box office, the news for the week. Pretty slow news week, and so maybe we can throw in some other stuff that we've been doing as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens on this show. But let's jump into the box office numbers. We're looking pretty similar to last week with these numbers, especially in the 1 and 2 spots, with Raya and the Last Dragon coming in at number 1, $5.15 million. Third weekend out. Still available on Disney Plus with premium access on that streaming service, but 5.5, pretty small drop from last week of Blues, just above 6 million last week. So a good third weekend for Raya and the Last Dragon.
Spring break. It's all about spring break. That's why all the kids are getting out for school, so they got to go. The parents are shuffling them off to the movie theaters.
Yeah. Theaters are opening up again, so I think like outside of the South Dakota area, theaters are opening up. So I think maybe that number will kind of stay in that area for a while. And I don't know what's is it this? No, it's not this weekend. This weekend, I think Raya and the Last Dragon will still be safe. But next weekend, another dragon type creature will probably knock Raya out of the running for number 1.
Yeah, it'll knock out that big ass monkey, and then it'll knock Raya and the Last Dragon out of the top spot. That is true.
Nope. King Kong is going to win.
Godzilla all the way.
Harry John McClane for the win.
I do think that there is a couple things that I think having spring breaks for pretty much everybody is kind of a factor into this, kids getting off school and stuff, but also theaters reopening in New York, and I believe LA has reopened their theaters as well.
Yes.
I think AMC's are still are really rolling out their reopening. I don't think Regal has yet, from what I've heard. I don't think Regal has opened any of their cinemas yet. So again, I think this number will probably stay steady at least for another week, like we said, until Godzilla versus Kong comes out. And I still think it'll do pretty well with that because, I mean, if you're taking your kids to Raya and the Last Dragon, you're probably not taking them to Godzilla and Kong. But if you're a good parent, you would.
Yeah.
If you're a great parent, you would.
Teach them young.
With a Godzilla t-shirt in the theater. Number 2, Tom and Jerry, $3.84 million. Again, a small drop for this movie. Still doing well. Again, theaters reopening. I think that is definitely leaning heavily into this movie. I think it only has a week left here on HBO Max as well. So I think this will stay pretty well in the top 3 to 5 of the box office.
Especially if it's on the verge of getting out of being on HBO Max. I think definitely will have a play into that. Looks like because it's going to be leaving on the 29th of March. So about a week.
Yeah, I'm currently playing the which am I going to watch first game. Am I going to watch Tom and Jerry before it leaves HBO Max, or am I going to finish Zack Snyder's Justice League? So,
wow, I'm kind of semi-impressed. The way you were talking, I thought you were going to boycott that movie and just not watch it at all.
Every time I flip it on is one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my entire life.
That was the thing I was hinting at we should maybe touch on, but Andy has not finished it yet. So.
Listen, I've seen Justice League. I'm pretty sure I know what happens.
But you don't.
Longer. It's just longer, Brian.
It's just longer. Oh,
it's wrong. It's longer, and Joker talks about Batman giving him a reach around. That's really all there is.
That is true. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Number 3, The Courier, brand new movie starring Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch. Sneaking its way into the box office this week. Literally sneaking its way in here.
I would say, did you even know this movie existed until it showed up this weekend?
I didn't know it existed until I was putting the box office results together. I've seen zero marketing. I've seen zero anything about this. I see Benedict Cumberbatch has an awesome mustache in this movie. So that is very nice. Again, $2 million for this movie. Again, not much in the demographic of adults going to watch a movie in the theater right now. I think that's what is driving people to go watch this movie. Is hey, I know Doctor Strange. Let's go watch the new drama that he's in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys were talking about like not having heard of this movie until doing this report. I think I saw the poster for it on Tuesday. Like this past Tuesday, 3 days before it opened. So, and granted, part of that is because I don't really watch a lot of live network TV where I'm sure that maybe they have trailers and stuff airing for it. But I mean, $2.01 million for a movie with no buzz at all. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's that feeling of, oh, good, there's something new opening with Benedict Cumberbatch in it. So, I think that'll when people show up to the theater to be like, okay, what's here? This is something new. So that gives them that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. They go to the theater and be like, there's nothing else. Let's just pick that one.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even know this even existed until Derek put up that he was going to the movies to go see it. I'm like, I even had to zoom into the picture. I'm like, I couldn't even, with that mustache that you're talking about, I'm like, who the hell's even in this? Oh, hey, look. Yeah, no idea.
Not Henry Cavill this time. It's Benedict Cumberbatch.
No, he has a much better mustacheless in Justice League.
Sure. Number 4, Chaos Walking, $1.93 million. Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley. The final nail in the coffin of YA adaptations here. Chaos Walking.
Oh, it's not the nail in the coffin. They will still keep churning them out, Casey.
Boom! I can hear the just nail going into it. This should have came out 3 years ago, and it would have been the final nail in the coffin.
Well, for this movie, anyway.
You just gotta wait 5 more years, and then they'll reboot Hunger Games, and we'll be back doing this whole thing all over again.
Aren't they working on Hunger Games like prequel or something? I think that's happening.
Lionsgate propositioned the book as soon as she announced that she was writing it. But you talk about rebooting that. Just wait for Lionsgate to reboot Twilight too.
Twilight,
The dark, gritty Zack Snyder's Twilight.
It can't be any worse than what we've got already.
What, Zack Snyder's Justice League?
No. It's no. Current Twilight.
I know.
It'll just be a 4-hour version of Twilight.
We'll just have Robert Pattinson coming back, but he'll play the dad instead of playing the kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andy, do you have any interest in watching Chaos Walking? We haven't discussed this movie with you at all.
When it comes home and is either a 99-cent rental on iTunes or is on a streaming service that I already own, I'll watch it. I like Tom Holland. I like Daisy Ridley. I just have zero interest in this.
Number 5, rounding out the top 5 here, going up from last week, is about $500,000 last week, $620,000 this week. The Croods, A New Age, the movie that will not die.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, the Thanksgiving movie that won't die. And I think Spring Break, again, is what helped push this back up a little bit versus going down and out of the top 5. Granted, I don't know what number 6 is, so I don't know how much of a difference it would take for that to happen.
This is a Croods fan revolution against the movie not getting a Best Animated Feature nomination. There's about to be a cat ass in the screen. Nope. Okay.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not surprised that this one's still sticking around, even though it is available on VOD and I think on Blu-ray as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's been on Blu-ray for almost like a month now.
Yeah. So I think it's just kind of it's that go to the theater. Oh, the 20 seats that were available for Raya the Last Dragon are sold out. The 20 seats that were available for Tom and Jerry are sold out. Sure, Croods. That's popular. So
yeah.
Well, and I think it is one of those ones where if you do have that kid that's like, I want to go see it again and see it again kind of thing, that, somebody's willing to pay a few bucks to go do that.
Yeah. And I mean, it almost feels like if there are 3 or 4 people in every showing, you got pretty much a whole theater to yourself just to kind of sit back and watch this movie with your kids running amok. So
exactly.
I haven't been back to the theater in a while. I haven't been to the Cinemark since I think Tenet came out, which was August. Have the ticket prices? I know they lowered them for some screenings. Have they done that again? Or are they back to normal price? That's what I'm really wondering. Maybe that could contribute to the really fast car driving in someone's background, but also to the box office results. If tickets are like less than $8 a ticket,
Yeah, they're like, I gotta get to the theater.
Yeah. $5 tickets. Let's go.
$5 tickets. Oh. Well, as we continue, I will look really quick because now
okay. You want me to? I'll take on the news since I know the first one will not excite you at all.
Actually,
Oscar news.
I'm on
no.
I'm on the fence about that actually, just because of the name attached to it.
Well, let's go to the news then. We only have 2 pieces of news to discuss. One is the Academy Awards, which we'll touch on in a second. But first up, what do we got here? Fede Alvarez produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be a direct sequel to the original, going full Halloween 2018 with this movie. It also was announced that Mandy actress, I'm going to butcher her name, Owen Fiore, is cast as the final girl from the first film, Sally. So we are getting 2 returning characters. Old Man Leatherface is what it said in all the press releases for this, and Sally is returning to the series. Andy, you are a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm very excited about this. Like, I still hate that preview poster that they released last year, but I'm still the concept of this, the notion that this is being made and that it is a direct sequel to the original. I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with it. I always kind of reserve my overall opinions until I see the trailer. But the notion of it, I'm pretty excited for this. I think it'll be fun. I just enjoy seeing this series, even the weakest installments, the terrible versions of this. Like what was it, the Texas Chainsaw 3D? Oh, that's bad. That's a bad movie. But I still kind of like it.
But Alexandra Daddario's in it, so you cannot hate it.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, I mean, I'm into this series, so I will be very excited to see this one. And if it looks really good, it'll be something that I will try and make it out to the theater to see instead of just waiting for it to come home.
That's saying a lot for this here. I mean, you've been very reserved about when you're going out and whatnot. And I will legit say is that if it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is what makes you venture out into the abyss that is the theaters, whatever. I'm kind of in awe based on other high caliber movies that you have passed up.
Here's the thing, though. But by the time this one comes out, Brian, I'll probably have been back to the theater multiple times because I'm scheduled to get shot number 2 in a week. So life is looking up for me. So I think it'll probably be in that time frame. But I'm also the person too where it's like I enjoy seeing horror movies in the theater, but I want them to be worth my time. Like I enjoy watching kind of the bad ones at home, because then I can kind of sit back, relax, and be like, this is dumb. Yay, I like it. But like the really good ones, there's something about going to the theater and just being completely immersed in this madness. So
horror
really
in general, or just Texas Chainsaw?
Horror in general. Texas Chainsaw, that's different. Like I have not seen, I think honestly the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I've seen in theaters was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, when they did a revival showing at the Alamo Drafthouse on 35 millimeter. Like that's the only one I've seen in theaters.
Jealous.
Yeah, it was awesome.
As I'm awesome over here going, that the only one I think I've seen in the theaters is the Michael Bay produced remake with Jessica Biel.
Yeah. And I didn't see that one in theaters. I saw it when it came out on DVD, and then I think I purchased it right away.
That's why I'm excited about this movie. I have never seen a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in the theater. So it was like me going to Halloween 2018. That was my first Halloween movie in the theater. So I'm sitting there while the Carpenter music starts playing, and I start clapping, and no one else does, and I felt awkward. So when I hear that chainsaw rev for the first time in this movie, I will probably do the same thing, and everybody will turn around and be like, "Who is this weirdo that is clapping for Leatherface in the back?" Me. That's me. I'm excited about this. Give me 7 different timelines to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. I don't care. They've done it so many times. The Halloween series has done it. They've all done it. So why not give us another go at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series with a direct sequel to the original, with I suppose Sally again being the final girl in this, or maybe doing Scream, setting up her to be the first kill. I don't know how the story is going to play out. And I mean, I wish Fede was directing. I've said that before on the show, but with him producing, that's at least a good name to have attached to the series going forward. And yeah, I'm stoked for this. I'm excited to see Leatherface on the big screen.
Yeah.
You're not going to know what to do with yourself.
I'm not. I really am not.
You're just going to be sit there and just in awe, and you're going to be that guy clapping in the background again.
I am. I'm going to be dressed up like Chop Top, sitting in the back row and clapping at everything that's going on.
Yep. As for, I looked up tickets and whatnot. It looks like they're in the same ballpark about the $10 tickets. So
my theory is invalid.
Invalid.
All right. Should we go to the next news topic?
Let's go. I have stuff pulled up here. I went through the liberty of not really looking at these here because usually my idea of what is a good nomination versus a bad nomination realizes why I'm not in the Academy. So we got the nominations for the 93rd Annual Academy Awards. I mean, I guess the one thing I did at least take acknowledgement here is, seeing in terms of like Netflix and streaming service, movies on this list where they've been kind of blacklisted, it feels like, up until the last basically year. So it's good to at least see that.
Until COVID is like, well, you kind of have to nominate streaming movies because that's the only thing that came out, and we are not nominating, Bill and Ted Face the Music. That was their
Could you imagine the Academy going, sorry, we're out?
So I mean, we're just going to touch on like 2 or 3 of our biggest talking points on this. We're going to give a shameless plug to Andy's podcast, Fat Dude Digs Flicks, who covered it for about an hour on your show. So go check that out for a deeper dive into each category. But we're going to just kind of touch on some of our big hits, misses, the stuff that they got right here at this year's Academy Awards. And I mean, I'll since I'm running my mouth, I'll keep running my mouth here for the biggest what the WTF of this for me. Glenn Close in Hillbilly Elegy for Best Supporting Actress. It is really interesting. We have all these streaming movies. It's interesting to see them take community production of a feature-length film and nominate it for an Academy Award. It's really, really groundbreaking there. This is a horrible nomination. She's horrible in this movie. She got nominated for a Razzie in the exact same category. If we're not going to give Adam Sandler his Best Actor, I don't think we need to give Glenn Close her Best Actress in a supporting role.
And I know we talked about this briefly outside of this here, but it's the fact that, it's not uncommon to have an actor and actress to be nominated for both a Razzie and an Oscar in the same year. They're just not usually for the same movie.
No, but this is the Academy digressing back to old Academy things of Hillbilly Elegy is a total Oscar bait movie with Glenn Close giving an Oscar bait performance along with Amy Adams in that movie. And it's like, well, we like Glenn Close. We'll just give it to her. It's like, why? You have hundreds of other actresses that were great this year. Don't give it to Glenn Close again. She's not going to win anyway, but she doesn't need the nomination.
Because who's she? I was about to say, who's she? Never mind. I already see the first person I want to see win over her anyway.
Yeah.
And that is just because I never thought in a million years I'd ever see a Borat movie nominated for an actor or an actress award.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's your current favorite to win in that category because
I think we got a 2-time winner in that category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what supporting actress?
Olivia Colman is.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, that's mine. I'm going to go with her. I haven't seen the movie yet. I've heard she's fantastic in it.
But she won Best Actress a few years ago. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you hoping for a Borat win there, Andy?
Yes. Either in that category, I would like Maria Bakalova to win, but also I'm a huge Minari fan. I love that movie, and the fact that Yun Yu Jung also got nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She is just watching her in that film. She's funny, she's heartbreaking, she is just excellent. So between those two, that's where I lie. That's what I want. One of those two to win. But yeah, I mean, there would be this kind of odd satisfaction for me if Moria Bakalova won for Borat too, because she is just she steals it.
She's easily the fan favorite to win this.
Yeah,
I think everybody would want that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I do agree though, and I think that she's absolutely great. And I think the thing we're going to run into is the people who are not going to want to be like Academy Award winning Borat too.
Yeah,
So that's the part where I feel bad at the fact that like I want to see her win, but I want to see I just look at it and go, it's not going to happen. But at least she can say Academy Award nominated, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you guys got for another big talking point that you guys had after seeing the nominations?
Brian, I've talked about this for an hour. I've got things to say, but if you've got anything you want to jump on, Brian, I'll let you take over.
Well, I mean, just looking in regards to like the supporting roles and everything like for actor or whatnot. Again, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact we're in a day and an age where Sacha Baron Cohen can be nominated for any sort of acting, whatever, just because everybody's so used to, stupid, sketchy kind of stuff and whatnot, and then to have him nominated for the Chicago 7. I also like the fact that we're seeing Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield both being nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah because I both think they did exceptionally well for that. So I do think just that particular category alone, I think is going to be a really hard one to try to see, who's going to be the front runner to that one here, just because, I mean, we have having Sound of Metal in there and One Night in Miami. I mean, all very strong strong people that are in that category, I think.
Yeah. I think the supporting actor is a pretty solid category.
It's not really one where I look at it and go, there's your front runner, or why would they nominate that person?
Yeah,
I think there is two front runners of it.
Yeah, I think Kaluuya is your front runner here, but I still think that
Leslie
Odom might be the wild card.
Right.
But between Daniel Kaluuya and Paul Raci, Paul Raci, there was a lot of buzz about him as after Sound of Metal first came out. If I remember correctly, did we give him supporting actor? No? Was he nominated for us?
No.
Fuck this. There's our F-bomb. Sorry, guys. That was
ready for my hot take. I thought he was fine. He was fine in the movie.
Anyway, so there was a lot of buzz early on. I thought maybe we did it right, and then it was us and the Oscars. But nope, we screwed that up too. No. So anyway, all of these groups, including Backlot 605, completely left Paul Raci just out to the side, and then the Oscars swoop back in. I think he's kind of the beating heart there to try and get Riz Ahmed back on the straight and narrow, and as his character kind of proves, you can be there to help someone, but they've got to make the final steps themselves. And I think he's a good guidance. But yeah, I think between those two, for me, Kaluuya and Raci, again, it's a good category. So.
Yeah.
One that we did get right and the Oscars did not. No Delroy Lindo nominated for Best Actor this year.
Right.
Da Five Bloods gets one nomination. That is it. That was very disappointing for me, especially after rewatching Da Five Bloods, for the show. I was like, that's my favorite performance this year. Period. Is Delroy Lindo in that movie, and it's a shame he was not nominated for Best Actor. It's like, Gary Oldman, do you need to get nominated again? Do you?
It's true.
Do you?
That's the one that I would have kicked out too.
And he's good. He's good in Mank, but
he's fine. Mank is fine. As a David Fincher super fan, Mank is fine. It's not my movie of the year, but
I mean, for me, David Fincher. I mean, it's a great movie, but it's kind of lower on the David Fincher scale, I think, for me. So I mean, just looking. Granted, I can't say much about For the Father or even for Chadwick Boseman, because these are two movies I haven't seen yet.
Sure. But
I mean, well, granted, I've literally seen two of those movies and whatnot. But I mean, Gary Mo, he does well and whatnot, but does it really deserve the nomination? I guess.
Yeah.
The one that I actually, again, not having seen the movie, but I really appreciate the fact that I'm seeing his name in an Oscar contention is Stephen Yeun.
Yeah.
As for somebody who, was a big fan of his when he was on The Walking Dead, which basically helped break him out into what he is today and whatnot, I think it just shows an immense amount of who he is and, the kind of work he's taking on to basically show his, Korean heritage, stuff like that, this right there is what makes me really want to see that movie, other than the fact that it does look really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Super, super excited that he got a Best Actor nomination. I think he is great. He was great a couple of years ago in Burning. I just think I think he's really kind of blossoming into a force to be reckoned with. Oh yeah, just a dramatic force to be reckoned with. So,
Andy, you got one to throw out there?
Yeah, I think my main thing, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this on the show. Actually, you know what? I won't talk about that. I'm going to talk about one thing I left out of the show, but then put in the comments. So, as 2020 went along and more movies were released, I kind of resigned myself to the fact that Elizabeth Moss probably wouldn't get nominated for The Invisible Man, but I did kind of expect some technical awards for The Invisible Man. I think with the budget on that movie not being super high, I think that the effects that they were able to pull off were just incredible. And the sound design in that film, incredible. The score for that film is creepy as hell, and it is a ton of fun. And then to see nothing. It did not get nominated for a thing. And I'm on the big, loving Monsters train, because that movie is a ton of fun. But we also gave one to the one and only Ivan. So now I have to watch the one and only Ivan because it got a visual effects nomination. And I have to watch The Midnight Sky because it got a visual effects nomination. And neither one of those are movies that I'm super excited to watch. And maybe their effects are great, but I think that the way that The Invisible Man pulled off the suit, pulled off the fights, like I think their visual effects were outstanding. So it's a technical award, and those are ones that kind of get pushed off to the side when the conversations happen. But I think that The Invisible Man has kind of been disregarded this year. It's a little disappointing, just because I for the longest time that movie was in my top 5 of the year. So just a really, really great film that And I think there's this discussion about, you know, a horror movie has to be the I can't think of elevated horror movie in order to earn any kind of acclaim.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Invisible Man falls into that elevated horror. I think horror as a whole, and this is something for a different podcast that you have, Casey, but I think horror as a whole always wrestles with social issues and things like that. Every horror can be elevated if you turn its symbolism, but it's just about having a good time and telling a good story and giving a good scare. And I think
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh, and I was just going to say, I think that Invisible Man, it's dealing with abuse, it's dealing with trauma, it's dealing with being a survivor, but I think it's handling it in a way where it doesn't have that. It is an art, but it's not like some people would call Ari Aster's horror films artsy. Some people would call Robert Eggers' horror films artsy. You know, Jordan Peele's horror films artsy. And I think Invisible Man is a solid, entertaining horror film that is still trying to say something. And I think because of how good it is, it should have been in this conversation somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I completely agree.
I was just going to say, I hate the term elevated horror. It's like horror's always been elevated. Go watch a silent horror movie. It's always been elevated. Don't bring up this because Ari Aster and Robert Eggers are making these kind of artsy fartsy horror movies. It's like horror's always been that way.
Yeah,
horror's always elevated, and you make me watch Sleepaway Camp, but your argument is moot.
It is a transgressive film, Brian.
Sleepaway Camp is elevated. It is
elevated.
Wrestling with a lot of mental issues.
You're not wrong on that respect. That doesn't make it a good movie.
I think this has always been a problem with the Academy. If it's not Silence of the Lambs or the hottest movie of the year like Get Out, you're not going to get nominated if you're a horror movie, and that's just how it goes. I think comedies are more easy to get nominated in the Academy Awards than horror movies are, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It should have gotten visual effects or sound design or something like that, or just sound, I guess it is. So I'm right there with you, and I think Elizabeth Moss delivers one of the best performances of the year too. And yeah, that was really disappointing. I had zero hopes it was going to get nominated, so I wasn't that disappointed. But it would have been cool to see one or two nominations sneak in there. Like, they actually pay attention to popular horror movies.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But as I say, your disappointment is that you knew that you were right. It's one of those things that you're like, it's not going to happen, and I hope I'm wrong. Until the nominations come out and you go, yep, I was right.
This isn't the Toni Collette travesty that it was a few years ago, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yep.
Do you guys have any other final thoughts? I got one more point to bring up, and it's a pretty simple one. Yay for everything for Promising Young Woman.
Yes.
Yay everything for that. Yeah. Because that's a movie I was also getting worried would not get any nominations in any category. Again, because it looked like, in terms of marketing and for Academy members, if they would have saw the trailer, they could have seen it as, this is just a schlocky horror movie or a rape revenge movie. Mm-hmm. In the pile of maybe I'll watch that. But no, I'm glad to see it got Best Actress, Best Director, Best Picture. Like it's everywhere, and I love seeing that for this movie. I'm firmly behind Promising Young Woman winning every category that it's nominated for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think it will, but I would jump up and down if it did.
Yeah, be very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other thing is, and I think I touched upon this on my show, is that you can have up to 10 nominees in the Best Picture category, and they stopped at 8, which left off The Five Bloods. I think it left off One Night in Miami,
Hubie Halloween.
Listen, there.
You had to go there, Kate.
You could have filled the 10 slots. Sandler would be a fun guy to have at the awards. He wasn't there last year when he should have been.
Yeah. That's it. That's the one. But anyway, I mean, you have this category where you can fit more, and I think there are some other great stories that were told this year that are deserving of that 9 and 10 slot. So fill those in there. And just go to 10. Like, just go to 10.
Is
I don't
this the
think
last year of the limbo thing? I think that's what I've heard. It's
think
next
so.
year. It's you have to nominate 10.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I'm all for that. They
Yep.
shouldn't have done the between 5 and 10. Just like do one or the other. Just
Yep.
Right. It shouldn't be an in between number. Just for the simple fact that if you're the guy making the movie, whatever the case is, you're just like, what are my shots? And my shots 1 in 10, my shots 1 in 5, or it will they or they won't they, whatever. No, just like every category, give it a definitive number, whether it be more or less.
Yeah, I agree.
Last question I have on this before we move on to our main topic, which we'll have some more Academy Award discussion when we talk about Kramer versus Kramer. My final question to both of you is who's going to be the big winners of the night? What's the movie that is going to take away the biggest awards? Do you guys think? I have one. I think I have a front runner for that'll be a big contender here for. I think it'll be Best Picture, Best Actress, and maybe you guys can put 2 and 2 together with that. I think Nomadland will be a big winner for this year's awards.
I agree, and I think throw in Best Director for that as well. I think Chloe Zhao is going to take that home. I think she's pretty much swept award season so far. I think Nomadland is kind of the one you're looking at this year to be the big winner. You might see a split. Like you might see Chloe Zhao take home the Best Director award, and then you might see something else take Best Picture. But what that is, that could be a toss-up. It could be Promising Young Woman. It could be Minari. It could be Nomadland. I think you're looking at a pretty good split, and there's a pretty good chance all across the board as to what it could be. I got to pull up my nominees here so that I can take a look at something.
I think Best Director is a pretty great lock, just locking in Chloe Zhao for that. Like I think that's just, if you're making Oscar predictions already, I think you should just lock that one in.
Right. The one thing I do want to give to her credit for making this movie too is, she, number one, it's a fantastic movie. I think she did an absolutely great job in what she put together, but basically pulling double duty because she basically was making this while she was doing all her pre-production stuff while making the Eternals. So she was literally going back and forth, basically making 2 movies at the same time. And I think that just goes to show the caliber of what she can do, while she's literally trying to do 2 things at once. Yeah.
Yeah. And by all early rumor mill accounts, the Eternals is something really special. So, I think as Jess said on our episode, that they're probably holding off on their marketing campaign until they can say directed by Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. So she's spectacular, and I'm not at all upset if Nomadland has a really special night that night.
Yep.
You guys have any other big predictions? I think anything Soul's nominated for is a pretty well lock as well. So if you're making predictions,
just give Trent Atticus their next Oscar.
Yep. And I think Steven and the rest of the crew covered in Boys State are going to storm the stage and reclaim the Best Documentary Oscar that they don't get a chance to win. I think they're just going to go there and take it. They're just going to take it.
Led by Adam Sandler. He's like, I was supposed to be here last year. Oobity-doo!
This is terrible.
Speaking of a co-star, a former co-star of Mr. Adam Sandler in the Meyerowitz stories, Dustin Hoffman, we're going to be talking about Kramer versus Kramer in just a second, but the Academy Awards are coming up April 25th. I don't know what we'll probably do some sort of maybe special thing about the winners after. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Make sure you have your 3-piece suit when we're doing it.
I'll wear my suit shirt, and that's about it. Or I'll dress up like Trey Parker and Matt Stone from the 2000 Oscars.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So that was our Oscar talk. Let's move on to our main topic for the evening. But I'm not going to intro it. We're going to have professional wrestling announcer, co-host of Burritos and Body Slams, Mr. Charlie Eccles, give a special introduction for Kramer versus Kramer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Backlot 605's main event of the evening. Tonight's main event is a battle of divorce. We've got Dustin Hoffman starring as Kramer going up against Meryl Streep as Kramer.
Oh man, I wish I would have been like 5 minutes faster in sending in my written one. I'm trying to find it. I want to read the one that I wrote. Listen, Charlie as always is spectacular, but man, I'm gonna read what I wrote because I'm gonna steal my
show him up. Yeah.
All right, so here's what I wrote. In this corner, the challenger from New York City, New York. She is wearing the beige blouse, sporting the blonde hair. The mother of one has had it to here with the life she is living and has decided to move forward on her own. But once she wants her son back, she is willing to stop at nothing to get full custody. She is the Streep that took a leap. Joanna Kramer! And in the other corner, the champ from the greatest city in the world, NYC. He was the man who put his job before everything else. The man who had no time for his son, no time for his wife, no time for his life. Until fate stepped in and made this family bond stronger than ever before, unwilling to lose and unwavering in his core. Don't dust this off, man. William, not the mama, Kramer.
Wow.
Woo!
We
Take
just
that,
need to end.
Charlie.
We just need to end the show right now.
Yeah.
Done. I'm out. I put the mic down.
We're talking about some crazy monsters this month with verses, but the scariest one of all is the street monster, and this being
monster.
kind of the beginning of her reign of terror. This is akin to Triple H's run in the early 2000s. This is her reign of terror. Going on here with the street monster Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, directed by and written by Robert Benton, starring Mr. Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Jane Alexander, and the young actress who is just incredible in this movie, Justin Henry. So again, the thing I can probably put this in the most blatant terms of, if you guys watched Marriage Story last year, it's that movie, but in 1979 with Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep.
Yeah. What a double feature those two would be, huh?
How depressing.
After watching this, I don't know if I want to do that double feature. I might feel completely depressed by the end of it.
Yeah, it's not a good double feature. That is not my pitch for the double feature at the end of the episode.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know overall if this movie is super depressing, just because I think of the note that it ends on. There is this kind of sense of, but that's spoiling Kramer versus Kramer. But I think there's a sense of spoiling a 30, 40-year-old movie.
We spoil every movie we talk about. So
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the spoilerific Kramer versus Kramer.
There's some twists here, folks. Wow.
It's only 42. It's only 42 years old. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
I was about to spoil the Snyder Cut, not realizing Andy hasn't finished it yet, and there's a character in it I don't want to reveal.
I know what's going on.
Guys, Martian Manhunter shows up in Kramer versus Kramer. He was there all along.
He's the kid. I think that this movie ends on with a note of optimism. They're not going to get back together. That's not what's going to happen here. But I think they'll be able to find some kind of a balance where that both of them can enjoy time raising this kid. And I think that they've realized it's best that now that he's established this relationship with his son, that staying in Father Kramer's care is the right place to be.
Right.
That's the end of the movie. Let's get there.
Let's start with the beginning of the movie. I mean, it's a pretty basic setup. We're set up right away in this movie. Dustin Hoffman is a workaholic father, spends all his time at work, doesn't pay attention to his wife or son. Movie opens with her literally just leaving. We're thrown right into the breakup of this relationship, and Streep gives this awesome introduction to her character. And for me, with her character throughout this movie, she's not in the movie a whole lot.
Right.
But when she's in it, she is super powerful, and you understand every little bit of character that she has in those few scenes. Like she is not, you don't need her to be with her son this entire time. It just, through her performance, you understand that relationship between her and her son and her husband. So basically it just opens with her leaving her son with her husband to care for as she moves from New York to Los Angeles to kind of find her own way, find her own path that she's never had the chance to in their eight-year relationship that they've had with each other. And it's basically a father-son story here from here on out, and it's about how Dustin Hoffman can survive and learn to become a single father up until about halfway through the movie that Meryl Streep returns back to New York after being gone for about a year and a half, returns and says she wants custody of her son, and it is something that she was always great at, being a great mother. And so the final climax, the final third of the movie is the two in court debating about the custody of their child, ending with that great ending that Andy just talked about. So yeah, that's we spoiled the movie. That's it. Discussion over.
Again, if you haven't seen it yet, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
Granted, in terms of me watching it between now, it's literally only 2 hours old in my head.
Yeah. And I mean, if I heard what we just talked about, I'm still going to be like, all right, I'm interested to see how that happens, how that comes out. It's not a movie you can really. There's no, like the kid was dead the whole time. There's none of that in this. Well, maybe, but there's none of that in this movie. And
it's a simple, like, I mean, the general story, the general beat to beat story plot mechanics of it all, very simple. Like there's not a lot of, I mean, it's just a human story. What makes it so worthwhile and worth watching is kind of the interaction of the characters, the performances of those of the actors playing those characters, and just kind of watching this evolution of this man who has to kind of take on a role that, while he probably should have had a more participation in from the very start, kind of watching him grow to be a kind of a more well-rounded person who is there for his son. And I think that's what makes it worth watching, even if the story design is simple in nature.
Right. I will even say is that, I went into this very cold and blind, not even just, and knowing that the small premise of the movie and stuff like that. It's not the movie I even expected it to be. You make mention that it kind of runs its path like you would expect it to. But being that it's Kramer versus Kramer, my going into expectation was like those first, like the first two acts or whatever would be kind of the first act, and it's going to be all like a drawn out, ugly custody battle kind of. That's the way I envisioned it. But no, I like the way that it came out, because you get to see that growth of him as a character, with Streep being in there kind of not very much until that middle to second to last act and whatnot, really gets to show that she's kind of the catalyst for his growth. And yeah, I think it's definitely not the movie I expected it to be, which is not a bad thing. It was very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, this, again, going into this movie, I had never seen it before. Andy, I think you were the only one that had seen this before. And I mean, I love Dustin Hoffman. I'm like, Meryl Streep is kind of this anomaly to me yet. I haven't seen a whole lot of the Streep monster. I'm scared to open my closet and find Streep in there. But
considering how many nominations alone she has, it's amazing. I will agree with this here, is the fact as long as she's been around, for as long as every time she keeps getting nominated for like a bazillion different things, she's probably one of the bigger blind spots that I have compared to other things when it comes to movies and whatnot.
So be on the lookout for Streep Month coming up at some point, so we can fill in that blind spot for me.
Sophie's Choice, Devil Wears Prada,
Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia.
Never seen those.
Boy.
I've seen Mamma
Julia.
Mia. I think this and Mamma Mia are the only Streeps I've actually seen. Anyway, we're not going to talk any ABBA right now. We're talking Kramer versus Kramer. So this could have used some ABBA in it. That would have been all right.
That'll help bring up the emotional tension just a little bit.
There was something in the air at night.
Mamma Mia is not that bad. It's also easy to make fun of. Anyway, not a Mamma Mia podcast. One day, Andy, you will have to join for that.
Oh God!
Just to hear Pierce Brosnan try to sing.
Oh.
It's not good. He's not a good singer. Anyway, Kramer versus Kramer. I think all the performances in this movie are just incredible. I mean, there's a reason this movie has 4 acting nominations for pretty much every main character in this movie is nominated for a damn award in this movie. And for me, Streep and Hoffman are just incredible. I think it's hard to again at this point for Hoffman. He's pretty early in his career yet, and to see him as a single father, that's kind of a progressive move for at least this time, and also for Hoffman to kind of portray that character, because right before this was the biggest ones were Andy. You can obviously correct me if I'm missing some or if I'm wrong here, but I mean The Graduate is a big early film for Dustin Hoffman, and that's a very, very different role than this one. Right. What are your thoughts on his kind of progression of as an actor now going into being a single father in this movie? Because he's kind of portraying a typical Hoffman role, kind of this yuppie hotshot New Yorker, and now he's just thrust into being a single dad.
Yeah, I think kind of the evolution of Dustin Hoffman from, The Graduate, which was really his first kind of breakthrough performance, up until this, where, he was still acting in things. There were still things where he appeared in. He was in Little Big Man, which is a really good kind of Western, like revisionist Western. It's different. It's fun. It's a Western that I actually like, and I don't really like a whole lot of Westerns. But then to kind of evolve into this, where, he's not... I don't ever feel like Dustin Hoffman was a young man. Like, looking at Dustin Hoffman, even in The Graduate, it's like he's got to be 50 years old. Like
he's the same age as Mrs. Robinson. It's not weird then,
right? So I mean, it's just this. You kind of look at him and he's like he's gonna be kind of the wiser figure, and now getting to step into playing the role of a parent or the role of a husband in this film. I think it's interesting because this movie is very naturalistic. It's very kind of kitchen sink. These are the things that are happening. There are a few big moments. I think the scene at the restaurant where he meets with Meryl Streep, and she decides that she tells him that she wants custody back. He has a moment where he explodes, and I think right away he gets to explode. But what makes this movie and makes his performance so good is that it is just him living in becoming a father. Like it's an every day-to-day life, and dealing with this difficulty and trying not to make that feel as heavy as it absolutely must feel. And I think it's a really, really great nuanced performance, because he doesn't have so many moments where it's just I'm acting, smash, I'm acting, I'm sad, I'm acting. It's just I'm going through, I'm telling this story. And I think that's, we often forget when when it comes to award season, that sometimes the best performance is one where it's just we're able to look at it and go, I feel like I know that guy. Like I feel like either that's me or I feel like that's my neighbor, somebody that I've seen. And sometimes when people capture that so incredibly well, it's enough to make you go, this is fantastic, because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a super relatable movie. I mean, there's a couple scenes that stick out in my head of how relatable those are, especially with Hoffman and his child. Is the one that really sticks out to me with those two is the ice cream scene.
Yeah.
Which is a scene apparently I have seen before, because Family Guy parodies it. I did not know that until doing research for this, but Family Guy does so. But I think that's such a great scene, because either if you are a parent out there, or if you're, I mean, we've all been a child. We all have seen either side of this story before. Of, I'm not going to eat. I want the chocolate chip ice cream you brought home for me. And literally taking my chair all the way over to the freezer, getting up while my dad is, you better not. If you open that door, you better not. Okay, if you get down here with that ice cream, you better not. It's just every little thing he does until finally he puts the ice cream in his mouth and he finally explodes on him. And I mean, it's a reaction for both the kid and the father here that we have all seen before, and it's those small, intimate moments that I think work so well in this movie. And yeah, I think again the performances here are just incredible there, because again Hoffman isn't doing like acting like I'm yelling at a little child acting. It's just he's this kid's dad. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. And you know, same to be said for Meryl Streep in this movie. You know, she is this is a supporting actress that she won for, and you know the role of the supporting actors and actresses is to kind of help move the story along, help give the leads something to work with, and she's giving the same exact energy that she is. She's not pushing it too far. She's not going over the top. She is just living the life of a woman who wanted something else for her life, wasn't getting it, tried to find it, and then on that discovery, she found that, but she also found that her missing piece was still being able to have her son there. And none of it is pushed to 11. It's all just relatable, like being that person. Like I wanted something else. My life was not what I wanted it to be, and I tried to rescue that. And again, super relatable. Like we all go through those experiences, especially the older that we get. There's something that we had aspired to, and if we don't hit that, there's that sense of like, oh man, what changes can I make to get there? And yeah, it's a side where the film is a battle. It's Kramer versus Kramer, but you can see both sides of it. I mean, you can really have something that you connect with on both sides of the issue.
And that was my biggest worry kind of at the beginning of the movie, is that, I mean, I don't know about how you guys felt right away within the first 10, 15 minutes, but for me, I'm firmly on the side of is it Ted, right? That's his name, right? Yeah, Ted Kramer. I mean, it's hard not to be at the beginning of this movie. It's hard not to just be on his side, because again, as a mother, she is just leaving her child with her husband and taking off and going to the other side of the country and not, visiting him, didn't tell her son goodbye, any of that. And it's hard not to be on his side. But when she comes back and it's revealed like she's been in town for that long and just been keeping an eye on her son kind of from the side here and stuff, again, it's all in Streep's performance that you get that out of this, because especially in the courtroom scene where Streep is just crying this entire movie. I feel bad for her. She's just in tears the entire movie. She's just not crying in this movie.
She just does not have a dry eye.
No. And I think that's why her character works so well, is because of Streep's performance and how relatable she is when you finally kind of get her side of the story and why she left and why she had to do that for herself. And it's hard to pick sides when she finally comes back. It's nearly impossible to do so. And I think that's what the movie is presenting here, is that you don't need to pick sides in this situation. And I feel that's the right way to go about it, especially like this movie where there's a kid involved with it. I don't think the kid is picking sides either.
Right.
And I mean, he has points in the movie where he sort of does, but by the end of it, it's pretty much mutual. All three of the Kramer family members.
Yeah. My favorite scene in the film is one of the courtroom scenes, and it's where they're really laying into Meryl Streep. Like, just the attorney is really trying to fight to show what this woman has done, how because she's left that she's not fit, and asking her about what kind of a mother she was. And there's a moment where you see Dustin Hoffman mouth to her as reassurance. Like, you feel like these two people are in this situation where it sucks for them, but they're not really against the other person. Like, he still wants her to be like, no, you weren't that bad person. You weren't what they're trying to paint you out to be. And when the lawyer comes back and sits down next to him, he's like, why were you so difficult on her? Like, that's not the way that I want to win this, because it's not who she was. And it's just,
or who he is.
Yeah, or who he is. And it's like, I just think there's so much. The purpose of the film comes down to them just wanting to be there for their child and be the best parent that they can be for their child, whatever that situation looks like now that everything has changed.
Yeah. And I would agree. I think that is a very, very powerful scene. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is the fact that, we've been talking so much about Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep and whatnot. But for being an 8-year-old kid, I think that kid was, even he himself was able to bring his 110%. Because the first scene I immediately think of in terms of just his overall performance, outside of the ice cream scene, because I think he gives that great deadpan look of like, I'm going to eat this ice cream. But no, is the one when they're in Central Park when he's in Central Park with Dustin Hoffman, when he realizes he's not going to live with dad anymore. And he's just breaking down because he's, as much as dad has, grown and changed and become this father he didn't know he was going to be able to be, his son has kind of grown a new attachment to him and doesn't want to change because he has been without mom for a year and a half and just realizes, he knows where he wants to be. And he kind of is feeling that struggle of, I want to have mom in my life, but I don't want to change what I know now.
Yeah, I think this movie is just filled with incredible scenes throughout this movie, and really, really built around those scenes too, and big emotional moments, and I think small moments too. Some that again stick out in my mind that I do want to bring up is the two just having breakfast together, where they pull out the orange juice and the milk, and the son is reading his comics. Dad pulls up a chair and starts reading his newspaper. They're both just sitting there. They're both just sitting there eating breakfast. It's such a simple scene.
The best part about that, though, too, is also the fact that the kid just basically, he does his thing. He just immediately goes, he gets the plates, he gets the donuts. He's just setting the table. Like, he's doing his portion of it while dad's taking care. Like, they have this perfect synergy of you're doing this, I'm doing that, and we're just having a good, just father-son, simple breakfast and whatnot, He sets the donuts, dad pours the milk and the orange juice. Everybody's just happy, Yeah.
It's a great way to portray that the time has passed and that there's a routine to these two every morning. Like, this feels like their morning routine every morning. They get up, dad reads the newspaper, son reads the comic books, and they have breakfast. Don't need to talk at all. Just both kind of do their own thing. And I think that's such a great scene between those two. And such a simple scene to do. Like, could have easily been cut out of this movie, but it's such a vital scene of this movie.
I think I don't think that's a scene you would want to have had cut out of this movie. Like you said, it definitely goes to show the growth of from when they first start to that at that point and whatnot. In terms of that morning routine and whatnot, though, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? This kid's supposed to be like 7, 8 years old in this movie. My kids are 6.5 right now, and I immediately look. The first thing I noticed about that kid's morning routine is that the kid won't flush the toilet, and I'm like, I still have more years of that crap.
Yeah. Prepare yourself.
Yes.
I kind of talking, piggybacking off of the breakfast thing. I like how this movie kind of bookends the drama with breakfast preparation. The first time, the first morning that he has to wake up and this is all happening, Dustin Hoffman has no friggin' clue what he's doing making this breakfast. He sure wants to. He talks a big game, but you fold it. That's what you do. That's what makes really good French toast. Is you fold it and put it in the eggs.
Don't forget, you put it in a coffee mug with no room in it.
Yeah,
and no milk. You forget the milk.
No, I just wanted to check. Just wanted to make sure that you were remembering.
Yeah,
and then at the end, it's this it's this process that they, it looks like they've done time and time again, and they work together to do it because I don't know, that's a bonding moment for them. So yeah, it's just nice to kind of watch those two little moments there are the perfect representation of the growth of their relationship together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with a topic of, we're dealing with divorce and child custody in this movie, I feel there is great moments of levity, including the making breakfast scenes, all of them, including, the one Andy just talked about that bookends the movie, the donut breakfast of the routine. I think there's a great moment of levity in this when Hoffman brings one of his coworkers home, and they end up sleeping together, and there's just great interaction between his son and his coworker that he brought home. He just asks her questions like, "Who are you? What's your name? What does he ask her again? What is if she likes?"
God, I can't remember.
I to that scene and whatnot, I immediately thought of like, only this scene can be made, or this particular part of the movie is made when it was, because nobody in their right mind is going to allow an 8-year-old kid to be within 2 feet of a full-grown naked woman,
completely
set.
naked woman
in a PG-rated movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's because PG-13 didn't exist back then.
Oh, this would not have been PG-13. Like, you see her full on naked. Like, everything is exposed, and that would be an R rating.
This scene that scene definitely would have been modified for 2021, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Which is, then you get into the whole discussion of ratings where it's like, it's just the body. Like, just let us show the body. And I don't think there's any obscenity in this movie. Maybe a shit, maybe they'll say that, but everything else about this movie, I think gets the PG, but it was kind of like, what? She is full on naked, and the kid is right there. I
love the fact the kid doesn't even flinch though.
Nope, doesn't even acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. It's such a great scene of just like, well, let's dig a little personal here, shall we, folks? So before I was in the relationship that I was in now, I was single, I was dating, I was enjoying life, and sometimes you may encounter a child, and it is the most awkward feeling to be like, hey, you should probably go back in there for just a few minutes, and then I'll come say hi. But just give me just a minute. Yeah, I mean, awkward stuff happens. That was awkward just to say that. So
I just love the fact that she goes back in the room, closes the door, and all you hear is, "Well, I met your son."
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I forgot that it was Jo Beth Williams too, who was also the mother in Poltergeist, but amongst other things, Big Chill, which is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. One also I've never seen.
Yeah. Such a great scene. It's such a human scene too. Like, everybody's reactions to everything in that scene is pitch perfect. Like, just the kid and like not like freaking out that there's a naked lady in his house, just saying, "Who are you?" Just asking her simple questions that he would ask anyone that would be in his house. So, one of my favorite scene out of this movie is at a point where, to add to the stress of Hoffman's life, he is also at his job that basically is the reason he got a divorce in the first place. He is then fired from his job after getting this big account and not paying attention to it. He is fired from his job, and he is on the search for a new job the week of Christmas. So he demands an interview the Friday before Christmas during a Christmas party. Demands his second interview the same day with the guy hiring him, who is attending said Christmas party. I think that's such a great scene of his determination of, I have no chance of seeing my son if I don't get this job right here, right now, because I'm not waiting 5 days. I'm not waiting an hour. I need this right now. And it's such a great scene, especially the shot of Hoffman just sitting there while everybody else is partying around him, and he is solely focused on getting that job.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that he tells the lawyer, I will have a job in 24 hours. And the lawyer's like, excuse me, what? That's not a thing. And his perseverance. But I also love the fact that, when he goes into that and he does get that talking to the two guys who are going to make that decision. And they're like, well, let's talk about this. No, this is he basically is like, this is a one-time offer. You know what I can do. You know what I'm capable of. I'm asking for less money. Da 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 da. And they're like, can we talk for a minute? He basically he presents himself completely strong. Not feeling like the broken man that he could feel at that point. He's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get this done.
I wish I had
I'm doing it for my kid.
I wish I had his confidence in any job interview I've ever had.
Just rewatch that scene before you go into the next job interview.
Yeah. He's a go-getter, that's for sure.
It's true. Right. It's true.
And speaking of also things that you can do in 1979 you cannot do now, is that after you get said job, while during a Christmas party, you can't just go up to a random blonde, you big old smack on the lips and whatnot, and just walk off.
He was happy. He was celebrating. He needed someone to celebrate with.
Yeah. There were a lot of things I think in this movie that kind of dated it just a little bit, like that. The smack on the lips, the kind of like, oh, women in the workplace, blah blah blah. That whole kind of banter too. I was like, well, I still love this movie, but I think, there's definitely a 1979 timestamp on some of these things.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other scenes before we want to bring up? I do want to bring up again the ending once again, the final climax, the elevator scene between Streep and Hoffman. But do you guys have anything else you want to bring up before that?
No, one of the things that I would actually want to bring up is when he has the accident in the park, when he gets the stitches and whatnot. You realize, you see the amount of fear that he has on his face just because he doesn't know. I mean, that's a lot of blood. You don't know what the extent of the damage is or anything like that. As for somebody who's literally held a child getting stitches in his head, that is a lot. And I think the portrayal of that for what he is, and he's got this cool like pirate scar for the rest of the movie and whatnot. I think it just goes to show how much he knows that he's because that I feel like right there is one of the big turning of the curves of his character between being the businessman that he is to being the father that he becomes. I think is definitely that scene, and then also having the help of his friend neighbor. In that scene just goes to show, by the time they get in, he's laying him down, his kid's comfortable, everything's good. He's just a bloody splattered mess and whatnot, and just realizes that he knows he needs to be there for his kid.
Yeah. She was wonderful, by the way. His neighbor, like, just, it's the growth of every other character in this movie, but the growth of her character too, because, right away, she kind of feels like that typical friend who's like, there for Meryl Streep's character. But, now that Meryl Streep is gone, she gets a chance to kind of know Dustin Hoffman's character. She gets a bond with him. Yeah, and then just kind of sees, how he is as a father and who he is as a person. And she was just a joy. Like, and I think there's part of me every time I watch this movie that I'm kind of like, why don't they get together? But that's not, that's an easier movie. That's a more cliche turn to it. I think just the fact that they are friends that would kind of do anything for each other, be a support system for each other. Yeah. I think that's just as important of a relationship, as a romantic relationship, having that friend that would completely go to bat for you. That's been in the situation that you're going through.
Yeah, that's one thing I did like about that, especially their park scenes, going back and forth about their previous relationship. What's going to happen, or just talking about the other person and whatnot. I think it just goes to show they have that very strong platonic relationship where they don't see the other person even remotely in any sort of romantic aspect or whatever, because they're being able to glean off of each other. That emotion of what the other person is feeling and helping them grow individually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of leads into that the final courtroom scene where she is involved with that. The neighbor is, and says straight up to Meryl Streep, like, he's changed. He's not the same person that you left. He's a completely different person now.
I love the fact that she wants to basically get herself contempt of court because she just can't stop defending him for that too.
Yeah. And again, these are all characters you like to root and want to root for in this movie, and I love that. And that everybody feels real. Everybody has flaws, but everybody that is presented in this movie feels like also a good person deep down in all the character portrayals. And I think that's kind of where this movie leaves us off with, is that this is the best case scenario for everybody involved in this situation, is that basically Streep gets the majority custody, and Hoffman gets to have every other weekend and 1 weeknight with his son, and his son is just heartbroken with it. And but I think by the end of it, the son really does come to terms with, this is probably the best case scenario, and that his dad's not going anywhere. He'll still see him. He'll still go to make breakfast with him and read his comic books and stuff. And I think the interaction between Hoffman and Streep at the end is just perfect. It's just perfect. I love that. And the final line of the movie too is just incredible. Of Streep, she's about to go see her son again and take and not take him home, actually. Is again that great revelation. I guess we should get to that first. That great revelation of she gets goes to Hoffman basically as she's about to pick up her son, and says, like, I can't imagine him waking up in my house without his blue sky and clouds that he has in his bedroom now, not waking up to that and not feeling like he's at home. Yeah. And so again, I guess they'll probably have to go back to court and reverse this and spend a lot of money. Come on, Meryl Streep. But
can you imagine the lawyers on both sides going, really? Did we?
Are we getting paid again? Are we going to get paid again though? We're all right with that if we get paid again.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how the legal system works. Can't they kind of come to some kind of an agreement so they don't have to go through a trial and just be like, look, we've decided that maybe flip the decision and I'll take him every other weekend because this is just what's going to be best. Or, they can work out something together on their own.
I don't know how it works. In movie terms, we like to think it's a nice even split between the two. Yeah. And again, I and then we get to Streep in the elevator, and she just asks her ex-husband, like, how do I look? And just that doesn't feel like a scripted response by Hoffman either. It just feels terrific. That just feels like his actual response to it. It's so great.
Yeah. Even though she looks like she's crying again.
But he still sees her as just this wonderful person. I feel like the love between the two of them, while it may no longer be romantic or anything like that, that love still exists between them, and they're able to see each other for, as people. And I think he genuinely still cares about her and wants her to be happy wherever she chooses to do. And I think he genuinely feels like she looks terrific. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, I want to bring up all these Academy Awards that we got here. So this movie has, let me count.
We were talking about it earlier, right?
9 nominations for this movie in 1980s Academy Awards. This is what it won for. It did win Best Picture, also Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay based on another medium. So Best Adapted Screenplay. It was also nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Justin Henry, who I believe to this date, it says here on IMDb, he is still the youngest person to ever be nominated for an Academy Award. I would suppose that still stands.
I think so.
Also, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Jane Alexander was nominated for that. Nominated for Best Cinematography and nominated for Best Editing.
Yeah.
Very, very good things to get nominations for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was what, 1980? I just want to take a look. What else was nominated?
I watched both Streep and Hoffman's speeches and acceptance awards for the awards, and Meryl Streep's was pretty cut and dry to the point, thanking everybody, and that was it. Hoffman's
doesn't she have like 19 Oscars by this time?
By this time, this is pretty early for the Street Monster. Is this her first, Andy?
I don't think so. I think she had. I think Deer Hunter came out before this, and she was nominated for that. But let me look. I don't have it pulled up here. Let's do that really quickly.
Yeah,
because I mean.
But I think in terms of the young star here, the child Justin Henry, I think this is one of the best child performances of all time.
This is her first. She was nominated for Deer Hunter, but won for Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah, her first win. So
yeah,
and then she would go on to win 3 years later Best Leading Actress for Sophie's Choice,
and then not win again until The Iron Lady with nominations out the nose.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think all well deserved here. Watching especially Hoffman's, who he was nominated up against. He was nominated up against like Pacino and Roy Scheider, and he got the biggest ovation in the crowd that night. I think everybody was really rooting for him to win this award here, and yeah, much deserved for everybody in this movie. Much deserved.
I do want to point out too, this is the first win for Hoffman too.
Oh yeah.
Because he was nominated for The Graduate, Midnight Cowboy, and Lenny prior to that, but this is his first nomination and win.
Mm-hmm. First of what? Is he twice?
2 of them, yep, because he has Rain Man as well.
Yeah. Yep. And then quickly, I do want to touch on the box office. There was no, I couldn't find an opening weekend for Kramer vs. Kramer, but for the month of December, which this movie came out in 1979, this was the highest grossing movie of that month. Over $100 million. Number 2 was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. $82 million that came out a few weeks earlier than this. Number 3 was The Jerk. $73 million came out the week before Kramer vs. Kramer.
I'm listening to those 3 movies and I'm like, in today's environment, that's not how this would have gone. This is not how this would have gone.
Yeah.
The Jerk would have been probably further down.
I think here's what I think. Between those three, Star Trek would have been number 1, The Jerk would have been number 2, and Kramer versus Kramer would have been the small little indie movie that maybe landed in 8 theaters across the country before Christmas, and then in February, finally, the rest of the country rest of the country gets to see it.
Here's the crazy thing: it was in 100 less theaters than Star Trek: The Motion Picture for the month.
Wow.
It still came out $20 million more. So I think that's very impressive. This movie, again, I wasn't alive in 1979. I don't know what the reaction was back then, but I think it was a popular movie back then.
Well, and you say that, even Andy and I were like, we weren't old enough to be going to go see movies like that.
I wasn't alive in 1979, Brian. 1979, 1980. So speak for yourself, buddy.
I was 1. Actually, no. When did this come out in 79?
Late December.
Okay, so I was a little over a year old. So again, I still was not seeing this movie.
You weren't seeing. Tell me about the cultural zeitgeist at that time.
What was everybody feeling when you were 1 year old about Kramer versus Kramer?
They're like, these people are this lady's going to get all these nominations and be made jokes of for years on end.
All right, last question that we got before we're going to wrap this up. We do have to pitch a double feature with Kramer versus Kramer. I do have one in mind. Do you guys have one in mind to pitch a perfect double feature to watch with 1979's Kramer versus Kramer?
I feel like Brian and I might have the same one because Brian already mentioned it. But yeah, I think so. Didn't you mention, or did Casey mention it?
Marriage Story. Which order would you put them in, though?
I would put this one last because Marriage Story, while it also ends on a optimistic-ish note, I think Marriage Story is a lot sadder. Like it's just there's a lot more moments where it's just kind of like, oh God. And this one at least kind of ends with there's more humor to it. Not that Marriage Story doesn't have its humorous moments too, but I think this is just a way to kind of lift your spirits after watching that one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad that Kramer versus Kramer is the one to lift your spirits.
Right.
Right.
For mine, I'm going to go full lift your spirits after watching this one. I'm going to start with Kramer versus Kramer, and then I'm going to go to another New York-based movie, a father-son story.
Big Daddy.
With Big Daddy. That is the one I'm going with.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
I legit, as much as you kept bringing up Hubie Halloween, I'm like, oh, he's going to go Sandler.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like flat out. I just blurted it out. I did not know that was what you were actually going to do.
Totally going Big Daddy. Great father-son story in that too. Definitely leans more into the comedy side of it. Does have some dramatic elements to it. I think this is it's one of my favorite 90s Sandler comedies, if I will say so.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be a perfect.
Maybe it's the best Sandler comedy of the 90s.
We'll find out. But I think it's a great parallel between the two and having these two types of movies. Again, kind of ends in a similar note where the son does not want to leave his dad and has to by the end of it, or is the last scene we get to see between the two characters. And again, Big Daddy definitely ends on a higher note than Kramer versus Kramer and throughout. But I think that's a fun double feature to have.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I couldn't really put one together in terms of, granted, also because I only watched this 2 hours ago. But one thing I would like to be able to throw this out for the sake of a double feature is pairing this with Rain Man, just for the simple fact that we've got two great Academy Award winning performances from Dustin Hoffman to kind of, even just the small amount of time frame between these two movies compared to his entire career. Showing the range that he has between those two characters.
I have two softball Hoffman picks to throw out this. Meet the Fockers and the Meyerowitz stories. I think would be fun to throw on after Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the plugs. Let's get to the plugs for the show. If you haven't checked out Kramer vs. Kramer, please do so. It is available pretty much on any streaming service that you'd like to rent from. I rented it on Vudu for like $3. So totally worth it if you do not own the movies. Definitely worth the rent, and recommend from all three of us on the show.
Recommend. And for the sake of the $3 it was to rent it, I was like, for $7 I'll buy it. So it is on sale right now on digital as well.
I have it on Blu-ray. So
yeah, lucky.
Well, I wasn't around to be able to say, hey, I need to borrow it from you there, Andy.
It's true. I'm not going out in public much, so I probably would have been like, well, Brian.
I would assume this in the Criterion collection.
It is not.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Even Godzilla's in the Criterion collection, and this isn't.
Listen, the original Godzilla has earned its place in the Criterion collection.
Armageddon is in the Criterion
collection.
Now
that's a better conversation to have.
The Rock is in there.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Clerks is in there. No, sorry, Chasing Amy's in there. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well deserved. Let's get to our plugs for the show. You can find the show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and to see our lovely faces, you can find us on YouTube. Brian, where can they find us on the social media?
On the socials, they can check us out: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at the Backlot 605. That's our tag, not just Backlot 605.
The Backlot.
We're dropping the.
We're just like Facebook. We're dropping
it's cleaner.
Mm-hmm. It's cleaner. Exactly.
It's what JT told us.
That's what JT told us to do. Also on Facebook, check out the South Dakota Film Community Group. Join the conversation. We'd like just to chit chat about what's going on with movies or what we're thinking and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. And if you'd like, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/backlot605. We have $1, $3, $5 tiers. Each tier gets something special to it. And our $5 tiers get our bonus episode for each and every month. So go check us out there, patreon.com/backlot605. And we do got to give a special shout out to our patrons, including this guy right down there.
I updated my payment information, guys.
He gets to listen to Anaconda versus Lake Placid. Aren't you excited, Andy?
Oh, boy. I knew I was a patron for a reason.
So special shout out to our patrons, including Mr. Fat Dude Digs Flicks, Andy Heller, Logan, Blake, Andy. I said your name again just because I'm reading off my script. Derek,
so nice,
Corey,
you had to
and
say it
Darren.
twice.
So nice, you had to say it twice. So thank you guys again for supporting
Andy
the
is
show.
so nice. We get to say his name twice.
And one more thing before we get to Mr. Fat Dude Digs Flicks, and of course we will get to your plugs in just a second, Mr. Andy Heller. I'm going to share my screen here because we have this coming up very soon. Top 20 comedies of the 1990s. I'm so excited. I can't even say things right. This is coming up this upcoming weekend, actually, this Saturday, March 27th at 7 p.m. at Spellbound Magic Shop in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Completely stealing Andy Heller's gimmick there. Coming up this Saturday, we're going to be counting down the top 20 1990s comedies. Maybe talking Mr. Adam Sandler on that, much to Andy's chagrin. I will be on the panel along with Mr. Andy Heller, Blake Ginnathan, and Sam Lenz. Andy, this is the last time we will. Well, it's not going to be the last time we talk to each other before the show, but it'll be the last time we have a face-to-face confrontation.
Peaceful,
before the show.
A peaceful conversation.
I'm
Sure.
just waiting to see who's going to be the first one to go through the table during the 90s countdown. Somebody's going to get a choke slam through a table.
I hope so.
I'm gonna say something really quickly, not to steal the show from you guys here, but
You always steal the show, Andy.
Please
listen.
do.
There's a thing I do. So
He's our Shawn Michaels. He's our show.
the rule initially was, only 2 movies per star, or they have to be in the top billing just in 2 movies. And I was like, okay, it's fine. Well, then we changed it to 1. And my brain initially was like, good, I'm going to make them fight for Adam Sandler. I'm going to make them fight for Jim Carrey. I'm going to make them fight for Mike Myers, Chris Farley, all these people. And then Sam the damned Lenz, kicked it in for me and made me have to realize that this includes everybody. Everybody.
Yeah,
including
that's kind of how that worked, Andy.
Bill Murray. This became very challenging to have to narrow this down to 1 movie with Bill Murray. And
now you're going to have like 3 or 4 in reserve, just depending on how somebody's going to play stuff out, too.
I was going to go to war.
This might be the first time I see all of the vetoes being used.
Oh, I'm totally using it. And Mr. Murray did not come to my mind at all when coming up with my list for this. So take that for what it is.
Mr. Murray was on my list twice. So, all right.
Yeah. Let's hope you can get one.
Everybody's you're going for top 20, and everybody's going to have to bring in like 50 movies just for backups.
Yeah. I've got some fun titles up my sleeve to play this game a little bit. So should be a good time. Should be a good time. Coming up this Saturday, March 27th at 7 p.m. at Spellbound Magic Shop here in Sioux Falls. We have a seating limit of about 20 people. So if you do guys want to reserve a seat, please just shoot us a message on Facebook or whatever. But also we are streaming this live on Facebook and on YouTube that same night as well. So if you do want to stay home and check it out on the interwebs, you can do so as well. Andy, let's get to your plugs for the stuff you do. I don't know, what do you do?
What does he do?
Well,
does he do anything?
Well, guys, I work a 9:30 to 6 p.m. job Monday through Friday, so you can find me there. But for funsies, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fat Dude Digs Flicks, where I have been playing catch up on my reviews this weekend. I'm almost all caught up. I have a bunch of TV shows to do reviews on and some rewatches to review. But after that, I'll be caught up, so that'll be nice. So you can find stuff there on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to the podcast, as I like to now call the Fat Dude Digs Flicks Network. That has Let's Talk About, which is an interview show where I talk with somebody about their lives mostly, but then we wrap the conversation up talking about a movie that has meant something to them or something that they really, really love. And then I also do the Criterion Break with Andy and Blake Ginnathan of Backlot 605. We get to discuss our love for the Criterion Collection proper and the Criterion channel. And this is like a once every 2 month podcast where we just kind of take a break from everything else and get real snooty with it. So that's what we're doing. And you can find that podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Amazon, anywhere your pods can be caught.
Awesome. Please go check it out. I can't every Tuesday morning. I'm so excited to get a new Fat Dude Digs Flicks podcast. That's my immediate, like, Tuesday mornings. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I get to listen to a Fat Dude Digs Flicks on Tuesday at work.
So by the time this episode comes out, I'll have just released my episode for this week, and it was another trip down memory lane with one of my best friends from high school, and he updated me on somebody that we went to college with. Like, I have 2 college go-rounds, the one that was successful and the one that was not. So on the unsuccessful college go-round, he told me a story about one of the people that we knew back then, and holy shit, wow, like, just blew my mind. And I'm excited for people to get to hear that. Nobody's going to know this guy, but just the idea except for that guy, but not anymore, because his story does not end well. Ooh. But holy crap, what a wow, blew my mind. So look forward to that. Go back and listen to it.
Awesome. Yeah, go check out Andy's show every week. It's awesome to have that on the queue every Tuesday at work, like I said. And last plug that we have here, we are finishing Versus Month. We had 5 weeks of it this month. We're finishing it off with we talked, Kramer versus Kramer, the epic battle of husband and wife.
Right, Andy? Right.
Now we're just throwing shit into the fan with Alien versus Predator 2004. The epic classic that is, the romance movie that it is, and I will explain that next week.
After the nail-biting excitement of Kramer versus Kramer, let's just take a nice little soft think piece called Alien versus Predator.
Andy, let's put it this way. I'm lucky I got to have some sort of interjection on how we did Versus Month, because this was not how it originally went. And at least we got some class out of this month with things like Kramer versus Kramer, because Casey's initial list, I immediately went, no.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's a great movie. I
enjoyed listening to that.
I can't believe Brian didn't want to do Dollman versus Demonic Toys, or The Ring versus The Grudge. I don't understand that, but that's okay. That's a different podcast down the road. I
was going to say, that's what you've got a Patreon for, so just do it anyway.
That's why Lake Placid and Anaconda got pushed to Patreon. But again,
I'm just glad the fact that I can just go to HBO to watch Alien versus Predator instead of having to rent it.
So next week, Alien versus Predator, rounding out the Versus Month that we have. We're bookending it with, the 2 maybe most notorious ones, and we filled the middle with the good stuff. This is like eating a yellow Oreo. All this good stuff's in the middle. You throw the other 2 pieces away.
I like a yellow Oreo.
Yeah, the vanilla Oreos. They're not. You eat the cream. That's it.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. Again, go check out Andy Heller at Fat Dude Digs Flicks. Andy, thank you again for joining us on the show. We'll have you on sometime in the near future.
Looking forward to it, guys.
Yeah.
All right, for Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Kelderman. This has been the Backlot 605 podcast, and we'll check you out next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.
Hit the